morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see a very large crowd. More than 400 people. It's really unbelievable. I'm very happy to see that there's a large number of people and companies who are starting to appreciate the value of traditional, non-traditional marketing. Yesterday, we talked a lot about, as I listened to the speakers yesterday, most of the speakers, specifically Kent and Mr. Retnam, talked about my topic, which is about legal and ethical issues. So I made a little bit of last-minute changes last night. So I'm going to talk about this topic for the first half of my presentation and case studies in the second half. By the end of today, after yesterday and by the end of the day, I certainly hope and I'm sure that you will be brimming with ideas on how to communicate directly with your customers. You've listened to direct mail, SMS explosion, email, etc. I mean, with the introduction of all this new technology, we should all be so excited. It used to be that direct mail was the only way to communicate directly with our customers, but not anymore. In the very near future, aside from cell phones and telephones and email, we will be sending videos to cell phones, which is already happening in other countries. There are more and more consumer touch points, more media now than ever. Media that is not only more direct, but more cost efficient and effective as well. I mean, it's just great. We have so many choices now at very low cost, very affordable, and very effective as well. That's what direct marketing is all about, communicating directly with the people who matter. That's good. Like I said, that's wonderful news for practitioners like us in this room. But it's also bad news for consumers like us in this room. For a moment, I want you all to stop being a product manager, a businessman, or any marketing professional. I want you to be yourself, a consumer. Now think very hard. How do you feel when you get a call on your cell phone, your own personal cell phone, which you consider private and personal, from someone inviting you to buy a certain product? Or a phone call in your house at night. This happens to me all the time. There's a certain company that calls me at night, at 10 in the evening at home, selling me some product, and I ask, where did you get my number and why are you calling me at this hour? And this lady answers, well, because I call you in your office and you're always in meetings, I call your cell phone, it doesn't answer, so I decided to call you at home. And I'm sure that most of us in this room have been spending time waiting for our heavy emails to download into our computers, only to find out that most of it is spam. Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for more. Because of these new technologies and the ease of use and low costs, you will be getting more direct mail, more phone calls, more text messages and email than ever from marketers. It doesn't sound so good, right? It doesn't sound right. Okay, we ask ourselves as consumers, whatever happened to respecting our privacy? And as marketers, we're so worried. I mean, what are we allowed and not allowed to do? What should we do and should not do? Whenever we communicate with our customers, our objectives are anywhere from making a sale, generating traffic, getting to know our customers better, or simply advising them of a promotional activity for our product. In any case, upon contact, you will either be an intruder or a welcome guest. And we all know which one we want to be. As a welcome guest, you make a contact point that eventually leads to a mutually beneficial relationship with your customer. The customer gets what he or she wants, and you eventually make your profit. But as an intruder, there are 3 scenarios. First, at the very least, you will be ignored and you will pass like a ship in the night. At the very least, you will be perceived as a marketer that is fond of cutting down trees and wasting a lot of paper, or a company that has lots of money to spend on inefficient calls. Second scenario, you'll be a nuisance. You will annoy your consumer, which will lead to negative feelings towards your product, thereby eventually losing that customer. If you continue with undesirable actions, people will refrain from patronizing your products due to unethical practices. Third, and at the worst scenario, you will be sued for invasion of privacy. We should be thankful that Filipinos are not fond of litigation, but then that is not a guarantee that we will not be sued. This is already happening in other countries where private citizens win cases versus spammers. Just last month, there was a very highly publicized case in Australia where a spam fighter won a case against a direct marketing company for its unsolicited bulk email spam. On a long-term basis, spamming, when I say spamming, I'm referring to both unwanted email and SMS. Spamming will only result to declining response rates as people become indifferent to what they receive. This is already happening to direct mail. As of today, the Philippines is enjoying some of the highest direct response rates in the world. When you compare average response rates here and the rest of the world, it's a great time to do direct marketing. Why? Because this is not a saturated market. People read the mail they get. We don't come home and find this much direct mail in our mailboxes. Not like in Hong Kong or in the US, where the battle is getting people to open their envelopes. Here, it's still very good. People, especially the middle income level, where they are pleased to hear from other people, even if it's a company selling them something. But because of the growing proliferation of direct mail, response rates are slowly going down. Therefore, it is for the interest of your own company and of the industry to keep our communications in whatever medium it is, whether direct mail, email, or SMS, to keep our communications relevant to our consumers all the time. Now, I'm not here to scare you into doing nothing, or to turn every marketing activity into a legal matter. I'm not a lawyer, and I will not give you advice on what is legal or not. I'm just here to share with you what I've researched on and to share with you my experience. As an active DM practitioner, and because our clients turn to us for advice, I did my own research to determine what we can and cannot do. I consulted several communications lawyers. I even consulted a lawyer with a master's in cyberspace law from the US. And this is what I learned. It's unbelievable what I found out. It's an open field out there when it comes to direct contact with consumers due to the absence of laws. Yesterday, Mr. Retnam talked about China's new Consumer Protection Code effective January 2003 and about the new privacy commissioners in Taiwan and Hong Kong. We don't have any of that here in the Philippines and no sign that there's going to be anything similar to that very soon, which means we can do anything we want. In the Constitution, the basic law of the land, there is no specific law governing communicating directly with consumers. There are no laws that regulate spamming, SMS, and our other media because they're so new. In the case of the internet, the E-Commerce Act was hastily passed after the love virus just to be able to arrest a suspected hacker because at that time, there were no laws on the internet. The E-Commerce Act only referred to hacking and piracy, but not intrusion of privacy. I also looked at the Advertising Code of Ethics, which was born out of the need for self-regulation by the advertising industry. Again, I found provisions regulating content, but not manner of communicating or the medium. But before you start going out and doing whatever you want, we should all remember that the law is not the only way of regulating our actions. Legal does not always mean ethical or moral. The other and equally important way is through the code of ethics, moral principles of proper conduct as established by society. In the case of direct marketing, this will pertain to privacy, a right of individuals which should be respected. This is supported in a provision in the Civil Code on Human Relations stating that dignity, personality, privacy, and peace of mind should be respected. Now, I'm not looking forward to having laws regulating our industry. I'm worried that if the laws are passed, they will just over-regulate our actions and will only serve to stifle us and limit our marketing activities and our creativity. So the technique is, rather than looking at what laws we shouldn't be breaking, we should be making sure that we are welcome guests of our consumers. So how do we become welcome guests?
Adjust the mic a little.
Huh?
Adjust the mic a little. We can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me at the back? Can you hear me? Is that better? You want me to do everything again? No. Okay. Okay, permission marketing. It's really going back to basics. Yesterday, we heard the term permission marketing over and over again. And if you will allow me, I'd like to spend a minute just explaining what permission marketing is. It's because I was walking down the hall yesterday during the break, and I heard some very basic questions, which were, ano ba yung permission marketing? You know, everyone's talking about it, but I don't know what it's all about. So let me just talk quickly about what it is. It's often said that all kinds of marketing is interruption marketing, or all kinds of advertising. You know, your favorite TV program is interrupted by a TV ad. Your favorite radio program is interrupted by a radio ad, and your favorite magazine is interrupted by a print ad. In permission marketing, what we're doing is we're communicating only with people who have expressed an interest in hearing from us. It's a hand-raising technique where you literally want people to raise their hands and say, talk to me, you know, I want to hear from you, I want to know about your company, I want to know about your product. So put me in your mailing list, send me emails, you know, write to me, whether direct mail or whatever medium, but I want to hear from you. So it's a different way of looking at marketing. So this is how we should all work in direct marketing. We should all work on the premise, under the premise of permission marketing. So we want people to opt in our databases, but always have the option to opt out, so that anytime they want to be taken out of your lists, of your databases, they should be given the option to do that. The banking industry has taken it upon themselves to put a privacy option in all their materials. It is when you opt not to receive any other materials from any company except for the credit card or financial product that you are a member or a client of. It's a different story for the pharmaceutical industry, where you cannot communicate with a person due to a medical condition unless you have his or her permission. That poses a challenge to pharmaceutical companies. And I looked at the list of participants yesterday, and I know almost all the pharmas are here today. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that can be overcome. I have a long-term relationship program with one of my clients for a pharmaceutical company, and we've been successful in getting permission and building a relationship with our clients. Mr. Ratnam mentioned this yesterday. Just as the advertising industry is regulating themselves through the advertising code of ethics, we should also be self-regulating ourselves. We should put yourselves in your customer's shoes. Don't do unto others what you don't want others to do unto you. Your marketing activities should be such that if you were the consumer, you would also welcome them. Gaining permission is a privilege granted to us by our customers. We should use it properly. Your customer database is your most valuable asset, but it is also a big responsibility. Now, it's important that you control every aspect of your direct marketing plan. This is quite easy with direct mail because you control the copy, you control the pictures you put in it, you proofread everything, you choose the lists, and it's you have greater control of your program. But it becomes more difficult when you have freelance sales agents working for you. And sometimes these are the people who make calls at night or call their cell phones or send emails with very large JPEGs. So it's very important that you advise and train your people very well. Remember, these people act in your behalf, and therefore they represent you. In the US, although it is allowed to talk directly with children, the Children's Online Protection Act disallows companies from asking or gathering information about a child below 13 without a parent's consent. In the case of some of my clients, they adapt this rule in the Philippines voluntarily. So I advise you to consult your own legal counsel within your companies and see if there are other things that you should be imposing on yourselves. My clients have their own self-imposed marketing codes, whether or not it is required by law or not. One of the most popular ways of starting a direct marketing program, if you're engaging in it for the first time, is by renting lists. It differs per project. It may not be the best way to start a program, but it is one of the ways. When you rent lists, make sure that you work with reputable sources only. I've had messengerial companies, okay, come up to me and say, I have a list of, let's say, Globe subscribers or Citibank cardholders with credit limit of this and of this much credit limit. And I say, so saan mo kinuha yan? Oh, they asked me to deliver and I photocopy everything, so, you can use it for a certain amount of money. So when you rent lists, make sure you're working with a reputable source. And you can approach any one of us or RD if you want to be referred to reputable ones. Your customers trust you with information about themselves. Use the data only for the purpose of which you told them to or which they gave you permission for. These customers give you permission voluntarily, so they should not be tricked or misled into thinking of any other purpose. We talked a great deal about email yesterday. We saw some wonderful samples from Kent. And email is said to be the greatest thing that ever happened to direct marketing. Why? Because it is the medium that allows for customer intimacy on a mass scale. It is very low cost, it's very fast, it's efficient, it gives very high response rates. But we have to be aware, again, of the regulations concerning this medium. Some states in the US have already outlawed spamming. Bulk email accounts for somewhere between a fifth and a half of all email traffic in the US, and volumes are starting to overload email entries throughout Asia Pacific as well. In the US, popular internet portal Yahoo changed the terms of its privacy agreements to allow it to send email offers to registered members unless they specified otherwise. 26 states in the US have anti-spam laws. In September, California became the first state to ban spam on cell phones and pagers. It's a different case in the US for cell phones, because whenever you get a text message or an SMS in the US, you pay for it. So, it's not only intrusive, you actually pay for somebody to intrude into your privacy. As I said earlier, more than making sure that you're not breaking any law and intruding on someone's privacy, the most important factor in determining whether you're a welcome guest is if you are meeting your objective. The law should not be the basis. Just remember, if you were able to sell your product, then it means that your consumer welcomed you. So how do we check that we become welcome guests of our consumers? The emerging value of direct marketing has led to overexcited marketing teams trying out new things. Unfortunately, quantity reached is often used solely as a measure of success, when it should be the result of the reach itself, whether in terms of sales or brand equity. We should measure quality and not quantity. So these are different ways of measuring success, whether you're a welcome guest or not. Yesterday, Kent was talking about certain e-groups, sending out regular email to e-groups, and where the subscribers don't even read the email, they just delete it before reading it. Okay. So you should find out whether these people are reading what you're sending or not. The most obvious way to measure success is by tracking response rates. They could be response rates, conversion rates, traffic generated, involvement. You have to measure, did they buy your product? Did they go to your store? Did they refer a friend? Did they call you for more information? Did they set an appointment? These are all measurable response rates that you should use to measure success. But it's also important to note that direct marketing is all about relationship building. It's all about regular communications. And not all communications ask for a response. As an example, my personal example is that I get monthly information from my favorite bank on how to invest my money wisely. whenever this bank writes me, they don't ask me to deposit more money or to open a new account or to apply for another financial product. They're just giving me, very useful information for me. It's not asking for a response. Another example is for a client of mine where we have an 18-month relationship building program where we send on a monthly basis tips on healthy living. Again, we're not asking them to buy the product, we're just telling them how to live healthily, proper food and nutrition. Information that we've found out through research is relevant to this group of people. So in that case, where there is no response rate to measure, how do you know if you're doing a good job or not? Well, just like in any advertising or marketing activity, we all go back down to whether we are building brand equity or not. Brand equity occurs over time when a brand builds strength and undying customer loyalty, and when the brand has real worth. It accelerates purchase, which in turn increases a brand's profitability. The technique most often used to measure the impact of a campaign on brand equity is the attitude and usage study. This can be conducted in several ways. You can have a customer satisfaction survey, or my favorite method, which I use all the time, is simply calling a representative sample size of my database. What's important is determining 3 important pieces of information: awareness levels, attitudes, and purchase habits. It should be done on a regular basis, preferably quarterly. What is ideal is that 2 studies are conducted at the same time, one against your database and another against consumers not in the database, so you can compare results. Later on, Ms. Dara Estrada will talk about measuring loyalty, so that will be very useful reference on how you can conduct your own research. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of measuring brand equity, because I'll share with you what I've found out with not just one, but several of my clients. With one specific client, where we have a very large customer database, several 100,000 names in the database, who we communicate with on a regular basis, almost every 2 months or quarterly. We found out that there's this very large segment, a very big segment that was not replying to any of our offers. We tried to determine what it is that attracted them, what products they use, what their lifestyle was, and we were targeting our messages specifically to that segment, and yet they were not replying. So we did a UAI, we did an attitude and usage study, and the results were very overwhelming, very positive. We found out that awareness levels were very high. They felt very positive about our brand, and more than 90% wanted to receive more, wanted to keep on receiving and hearing more information from us. So you may be wondering, so how come they were not replying? It's important to remember that there will always be, that respondents is a specific breed of people. Not all people are likely to reply. Okay? You may receive an offer, but you may be too lazy to fill in the coupon, bring it to the store, or make a phone call or fax it back or email back. Okay? Not everyone will do that. However, most of those people would have gained awareness of the product, liked the product, and therefore went to the supermarket to buy it. Or planned a future purchase. You increase purchase intent. So brand equity is something that you should measure all the time. I came across this piece of research, very interesting, okay, because it shows us that privacy-conscious consumers make profitable customers. The survey finds that these privacy-conscious consumers can be more valuable customers than those less concerned with the issue. The survey reveals that email recipients with stringent privacy standards should not be thought of as privacy nuts. It's no longer the case that you can dismiss the 5 or 10% of your customers that you consider privacy nuts because you think those folks are unprofitable customers. They not only spend more money than other online users, they're more likely to open permission messages and to value customized email. Of the respondents, 30% say they're more receptive to permission email, and 50% report that permission email relationship quality is significant to their impressions about firms and their products. I'm going to talk now about 3 case studies that will illustrate how you can be a welcome guest and now illustrate how you can build relationships with your customers. The first example, the first case study is for the product Equal, the artificial sweetener. The objective of our client was to target 2 groups of people, the health conscious and the diabetics. While the health conscious were fairly easy to reach, they're in sports associations, they're in gyms. Our self-imposed code of ethics does not allow us to send unsolicited communications to individuals due to a physical condition. Thus, we couldn't just search for a list of diabetics, which exist, and write to them. Therefore, we came out with a series of print ads, such as this one, okay, which features a very sweet dish. And the offer is, if you want to get a recipe, you want to know how to prepare this recipe, all you have to do is reply back to us, fill in the coupon, and you get the recipe and samples too. As you look at this print ad, it is important to note that the creative process used in developing print ads for direct marketing is the same as the process for advertising. The discipline, there are some specifics which are different, but the creative process is the same. Later on, you're going to listen to Shane, and she's going to talk about he's going to share with you some creative out-of-the-box ideas. It is important to consider brand image and personality, and that it fits into the total communications plan. Another thing is that you should never look at direct marketing in isolation. You should look at direct marketing as part of an integrated marketing communications plan. It is not tactical, it is not one-off, but rather part of a bigger plan. The major difference is that direct marketing asks for a very specific response, which in this case is to reply in order for you to receive free product samples and recipes. And it should be very clear how you should do it. In this case, what we wanted to do is to fill in the coupon, then mail or fax it, or call this number, or email a certain address on or before a certain date. The mode of response, whether email, telephone, mail, or fax, depends on what your target market has access to. I know we're all excited about email and SMS, but we all have to remember that computer penetration in the Philippines is only 4%, and internet access is only 1%. Another point I'd like to raise is your response device. In direct marketing print ads, the most important part is your response device. It's that coupon, because that is what goes back to you. Now, when you design the coupon, make sure that it is friendly. I go through the papers and I see these itsy-bitsy coupons that you can't write on. I mean, here in the Philippines, our addresses are so long. We have subdivision, village, barangay, town, province. And I see coupons in the papers with one tiny line. What only happens there is that you end up with a database with inaccurate addresses. So the test for that is that you write on your coupon and see if you can fit in all your information. So this is one print ad. This is another one showing, this is another version. There are 3 versions. And if you reply, in the coupon, it asks whether you're diabetic or not. I'm sorry, it's not very clear on the screen, but this is the fulfillment package or the direct mail package which we sent our respondents. The brochure cover says, kick the sugar, use Equal. And what's important is we gave away, aside from giving samples in order to encourage trial, we also gave away discount coupons in order to encourage purchase. So we tied up with Mercury Drug, and at the back of the coupons, in order to track response, we had the respondent write in some more information about themselves. So the names we gathered from the print ads were the start of our permission database. It paved the way for regular communications with these people. Next time around, we sent another direct mail package. The envelope says, "Inside the truth on why coffee excites you." And inside, we gave away coffee recipes, riding on the popularity of coffee in the country. And again, another offer, an equally enjoyable offer, which they can redeem at specific stores. This is the coupon, and at the back, slowly, okay? You should get to know your customers better. So you can't start asking 20 or 30 or 40 questions all at one time. It's something that you should do gradually. So in this case, we were trying to find out more about them, about their families, about their children, about consumption habits. Well, this campaign, from then on, the consumers were sent more information, recipes, and other relevant information. While this was happening, we were communicating with doctors at the same time. The objective was to combat the ongoing propaganda against aspartame. And we wanted to educate doctors on equal, to talk about its efficacy and its safety. So that's another thing, that's another nice thing you can do about direct marketing. You can have targeted messages to different markets. The next example is for UNICEF. I'm sure that we've all gotten, a solicitation letter from UNICEF at one point. UNICEF is one of the largest direct marketers in the country. They send out over 1 million or more in a year in waves. And their objective, of course, is to raise funds for their projects. And through time, UNICEF was able to build a database of their donors, who are people who have donated to them at one point. So because we all know that it is more expensive, it is 2 to 3 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain a current one, we were communicating on a regular basis with the current donors, asking for money. And we were doing it first on a quarterly basis, then on a monthly basis. But after a while, we were saying, hey, wait a minute. We can't go to these people every month asking for money. I mean, if you came up to me on a monthly basis asking for money, would that irritate me? Would that annoy me? So before we continued, we did a little research, we did our research, and we found out that our donors didn't mind. They didn't mind. What their reaction was, yeah, keep on asking me for money, even if you do it monthly. I mean, if I have the money at the time, I'll donate. If not, I'll wait for the next one. So they did not mind it. They welcomed it. So those are things that you should remember so that you know whether you're just wasting your money or not. This one was a pack we did to raise funds for sexually abused children. You'll see that the packages, if you go through the packages closer, you'll note that UNICEF does not dwell on the sadness or on the poverty. Okay? They dwell on what your money can do to improve the lives of these children if you donate money. So they talk about the positive side. This is another example of a material we did, which promotes literacy classes for adults. UNICEF, the objective here was to educate the caregivers of children, who are the mothers, because they found out that if mothers are educated, then the chances of mental and physical development of the children increase significantly. So the mothers are not only taught basic education, such as reading and writing, they're also taught what medicine to give their kids, and most importantly, they're given, their self-esteem is built, their morale is boosted, because they become more, they value themselves more, they become more useful. The creative work in this material was such that it inspired one of the recipients. Okay, one of the recipients was so touched by this material that he wrote a script about it and made it into a movie, which was called Ina, which came out about a year or two ago, starring Lorna Tolentino and Albert Martinez. My last example is for Retin A. Retin A is an anti-wrinkle ointment. Okay, you put it on your face and your wrinkles go away. You have soft, beautiful skin. And my client came up to me because they said that they had no problems with people trying the product. The promise of clear, smooth skin was enough to get people to buy the product. But what they found out was that retention rate was almost zero. Why is that? You know, when you put on the product on your face, after several days, your skin turns red, you start itching, your skin peels, and you look so ugly, it hurts, it stings, you can't go out of the house. And people think they're allergic to it and they drop it like a hot potato. So retention rate, like I said, was almost zero. But what these people didn't know was that that was part of the process. What's happening is that you're getting rid of the old skin so that your new skin will come out. But people did not know that. Therefore, we came up with this campaign wherein the objective was to guide the first-time users throughout the critical stage of use, which is the first 3 months. The first step is building the database through a series of print ads. So it just shows how this mom, in a span of 9 years, her skin is still the same soft, beautiful, wrinkle-free skin. And what we're saying is, if you're interested, just write in, call us back, contact us, and we'll give you a sample of the product and more information. So this is a series. I found out that this target market, they're very fond of ballroom dancing. And from here, we give a starter pack with a product sample and a brochure on how to use the product properly. But we did not leave it at that, because we all know that eventually these people will, the itchiness will happen, the redness, and all those horrible things happening to their faces. So on a weekly basis, for 3 months, we were in touch with these people, whether by phone, whether by direct mail. We were tracking stage of usage of each one. So we would call and say, ma'am, you're on your 2nd week and your skin now will start to peel and this is what's going to happen to you, etc., etc. The week after that, we know that the tube that the consumer has is about to be consumed. So it's time that we remind them or send a discount coupon to encourage second purchase. And so on and so forth for the first 3 months, because we found out through research that once the consumer successfully goes through the first 3 months, the probability of usage for life is at its highest. So what happened here? We guided them through the stage. We found out that those who did not go through this process felt abandoned by the company when their skin started to peel. Okay, I'm not telling you guys to call your consumers weekly or to write to them. It's different case, different strokes for different folks. It will be different depending on your product. I think what we're trying to emphasize here is that we have to get to know our consumers very well. Direct marketing is all about targeted messages, personalized messages to specific groups of people. I'm going to end with a quote from the founder of my partner company, Leo Burnett, where he said that in this business, we are people talking to people, individuals, not masses of people. And that's what we should keep running through our fingers. Thank you very much. I'm open for...
Thank you very much, Ichay.
I'm open for questions now.
We're okay, Ichay. Questions, RD?
Yes, I think we've touched a nerve here, Ichay, and we have a lot of questions here. So we'll start with where you started, which is the ethical and legal issues. First question, Ichay, is that the PhilPost said that they can send DM materials to residents of subdivisions and even do unaddressed mailing. Is this invasion of privacy?
Is that invasion of privacy?
Yeah,
I
that's the
don't think
question.
so.
Okay.
I saw Mr. Assistant Postmaster General here yesterday. I don't know if he's here.
Mr.
Maybe that's a
Hidalgo.
question, Mr.
Yes.
Hidalgo. So maybe that's a question you can answer later on. Or,
Okay.
yeah. But in my opinion, I don't think that's invasion of privacy.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, so please
That's right.
don't go around doing things and saying, she said it's so.
Okay. For free email service providers, is it ethical for them to send up spams since the service is free anyway?
For free email.
Yes. Actually, Elaine from EDSA Mail, Elaine Holman is here, so why don't we ask Elaine to answer that, right?
Good morning, everyone. The way free email service is going on, or the way we are able to provide that service to subscribers is through the subsidy that we get from advertising. However, it now differs from each company or from each free email service that is going on. There are several websites or free email services such as Yehey, Yahoo, or Hotmail. They practice permission marketing in different aspects. EDSA Mail practices it as well. There are some wherein you can opt in from registration, but I guess the very important thing is really in the way you manage the list. It's not only a one-time, like with EDSA Mail, we don't simply ask them if they are willing to receive content. It's based now on particular interests that they have to answer. So we don't just spam them according to whatever we wish or whatever advertiser wishes to send them. It has to be specifically according to the interest that they subscribed into.
Equal campaign. How effective or what is the redemption rate on the promo of Equal and Mercury Drug? Or, in other words, do people really bring the stuff to get discounts?
I'm not at liberty to reveal exact response rates, but I can tell you that the response rates were such that the return on investment was very high, and it was sufficient to keep the program running to repeat the program after some time.
Okay. And one last, from your experience, how many times a year is it advisable to get in touch with your customers to build a relationship without being intrusive?
There's no one answer to that question. It can be different for every product. Like I said, in the case of Retin A, it was every week for the first 3 months, and further apart thereafter. It's monthly for another client of mine because we found out that that was the best way to keep awareness levels high. We do it quarterly for another one of my clients, but for me, the minimum that I require is quarterly, which is 4 times a year.
Okay, and maybe one last, it's
Yeah.
just a yes or no. Okay. How would you know that an innocent-looking email or SMS asking for information will be used later by list brokers? And connected to that, there's a question on how do you protect if someone comes up to you with that offer to provide you with lists that are illegally obtained? Who do you approach or call?
The first question again is?
Was how would you know that an innocent-looking email or SMS asking for information will be used later on by list brokers?
In theory, the company asking for information about you should only use the information you give for the purpose which was stated in the request. That company cannot do anything else with the data that you give. However, it is important for you to read the fine print. There are some companies that put in their fine prints in the terms and conditions saying that the company reserves the right to use the data for whatever purpose, et cetera, and we can, give it to others. So read the fine print. But there are some companies who have taken it upon themselves. The banking industry is one where they put the privacy option, which says that I allow you to do, maybe the exact words, I don't know what the exact words are, but it just says that I allow you to send me materials from other companies about other companies or other products. So that's from a, I think what you have to remember as consumers is that anytime you give information about yourself to anybody, okay, you make yourself open, you become vulnerable because unfortunately, not all companies are ethical. What's the second question?
It's a very short one. Who do they report to? If we encounter a reputable source list, what do we do? To whom do we report to?
I'm not sure. I think the advertising industry could be one, or the Direct Marketing Association could be one. You can ask your own legal counsel. I'm not really sure. I mean,
Okay, what
I
we'll
think
do
that
is
becomes a legal matter.
Yeah, questions are still pouring in. We'll have a forum later, and maybe we can address them later on. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank
How
you.
about a big round of applause for Ichay?